Matt, the number one reason most people never learn, well, it's a couple of them. I'm going to go through them, but starting what I think is number one, why most people never do a deal or struggle to do deals. They never figure out what makes a great deal.
Ty, thank you for joining us for our Thought Leader Spotlight series. I'm your host over here, Matt Camp with DealMachine, and on these, we really like to shine an industry spotlight on experts like yourself, hear your inspiring stories, and see how you see the world evolving over there. So today, really excited to welcome on Ty Taylor, aka the Flip Man. You've been a wholesaler since 2003, so 20 years now. That's impressive. Doing like self storage, multifamily, all kinds of stuff now, but still doing houses and land. You're OG when it comes to content as well. Been doing that since 2008, and just a genuine dude in general. Like love to follow your stuff online. So welcome on, Ty.
Great to be here, man. I'm glad you reached out to me. We've been going back and forth, I think, for a couple of months to put this together. So,
We made it
uh,
happen.
yeah, so timing is right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I know I talked about a little bit about your bio and where you're at today, but can you talk a little bit more about 20 years ago when you were jumping into this for the first time? Like, what was that journey like? How did you do that first deal? Like, tell us more.
All right, it's a story. So, since we're here to talk about me, so
Let's
let's
do it,
go.
man. Yeah.
All right, so just to take you before 2003, I'm here in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm not originally from here, but I came here to go to college, and I wasn't one of those kids that grew up, wanting to be an entrepreneur or start my own business or anything like that. I really knew nothing about that, just from the environment that I was in. I don't care about really two things as a teenager. Growing up, was playing basketball and um, girls. So just imagine me about 80 pounds lighter though. And so anyway, so went off to college, came here in 1990, and I think around maybe like 91 or two, I listened to something, and it just made me just think about working for someone versus working for yourself, and and what goes into that. It just changed my mindset on that. And so in college, I tried all types of different things to make money. I think that we've exceeded the statute of limitations on this, but I had the brilliant idea that I was going to take my student loan money and start a used car business and become a millionaire and have a story to tell. Still have a story to tell, but the millionaire part of it ain't part of it. So I did do that. And so I was known as the guy that was changing cars all the time, on campus, which it didn't last that long, but enough for people to notice. And one thing you have to realize about that business when you get into it, if you're not mechanically inclined or someone that's working with you, you will get beat out of your money in that game. Because I used to go to auctions, I used to love it. It'd be like 500, 600 cars out there, just a big old facility. They got test ramps where you can just test drive the cars. I don't care if it was 10 years old, they were going to make it look brand new, but that didn't mean it performed that way. So long story short, lost a lot of money. So I think I got introduced to multi-level marketing before that happened or whatever. So that was like my first experience or any type of entrepreneurial opportunity or whatever. And wasn't good at that. 1995, went to what they call Black Beach Weekend in Daytona Beach, Florida, and it was my brother, two of my cousins, and one of my brother's friends. We all drove down, and one of my brother's friends that lived in older brother lived in Orlando. He came up to hang out with us, and he was talking about the business he had started, which was a mobile car wash. So my entrepreneurial just bells started to go off. I couldn't wait till we got back to Birmingham, and I was sick that weekend too. You're supposed to be on a little vacation. I was just sick. I stayed in the hotel the whole time, but I couldn't wait. We got back to Birmingham. So when we got back to Birmingham, going back to that student loan money, I had enough of that. I think we just started another quarter. We were not on semesters at the school I went to at the time. We were on quarters. And so I bought a baby blue passenger van that the seats were already taken out, a 50-gallon, maybe 100-gallon water tank, and what else? And a pressure washer. And I was in business as a mobile car wash. That was like April of 2005. So it was warm then. And so basically from April until October, I was out there getting it every day. I still had a full-time job, but when I was off, I was out there washing cars or whatever. And so then one of those mornings I woke up and it was 40 degrees. Now I know you're in St. Louis, that's nothing. But here that is.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
imagine trying to spray water in 40-degree temperature. That's when I realized I'm not going to be able to do this anymore. But anyway, so I just want to give you some backstory about me.
Yeah.
So did a few more things in between 1995 and 2002 to try to make money that all failed. And so in October of 2002, one of my friends and his now wife were going to school to become real estate agents. And the guy that normally taught the class, he wasn't there. The substitute that replaced him that evening, he didn't talk about being a real estate agent. He talked about investing in real estate, but creatively with no money, right? And so my friend, knowing how I was in college and stuff, always in the stuff. And back then, I think I'm quite a bit older than you, but back then, if you said that you wanted to be an entrepreneur, at least in my community, that means you were lazy and you didn't want to work for anyone. Now it's cool. You say, I want my own business. But back then it wasn't like that. But he knew how I was. And so he mentioned to some of the techniques the guy was talking about as far as no money down and all that stuff to buy real estate. I knew nothing. I mean, like zero, if it was below zero about real estate. Had no interest in it because I always thought you needed money or great credit or whatever. So my friend was telling me about some of the techniques, and I thought, okay, that sounds good, but I didn't act on it at that time. So fast forward a couple of months, December of 2002, I was at my mom's house for Christmas. A couple of days after Christmas, like I tell you, December 27th, I was sitting there waiting on her to prepare some breakfast, and I saw one of our Carlton Sheets, no money down infomercials, which I had seen them over the years or whatever. And, you're like, yeah, right, whatever it's called. But because my friend had mentioned that information to me before, back then you could just change the channel after that one went off and it was going to be on another channel. Mm-hmm. So I watched it from beginning to end. Now, I didn't tell you anything, but, just a lot of testimonials. Hey, Carlton, help me make this much money and help me make this much money. But at the end of it, I thought to myself, I said, he can't be lying about all of this, right? So back then, my mom didn't have internet at her house. So when I got back to Birmingham and I went onto this online message board, entrepreneur message board, it was called ablake.net. I don't even think it's up anymore. And I posed the question, does Carlton Sheets program really work? And one person replied, he was like, yes, it does. But Ron LeGrand's course is better. So I did a search for Ron. I think Google was around. If it wasn't Google, it was Yahoo. Found his website and saw he had a course for $1,500. It was a package of different techniques. It was called Quick Turn Real Estate, I think. And it was
had him on before.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was $1,500. And so back then, $1,500 is still a decent amount of money, but it was really a lot of money to me back then. And so so I knew I couldn't afford that. So they had a condensed version of it for $69.95 with shipping, $80 basically. So I received that. This is how long it's been ago. It was in cassette tape form. Some of y'all probably know what that is. So Google it, cassette tape form. And so I got it and listened to it. And if any of y'all know Ron, he is very good. Number one, he's very knowledgeable, but he's one of those people that can educate you and motivate you at the same time. Mm-hmm. That's a powerful teacher. You know what I'm saying? When they can give you the information you want, but also motivate you at the same time, make you think you run through a brick wall, right? The way he explained things and go about it. And but that wasn't the course. Those were just teasers. You know what I'm saying? So I still was lost, but it sounded like something I could do or whatever. So I thought I'd say, hey, if I have to get a second job, I'm going to save this $1,500. I'm going to buy this course. So a couple of days later, I thought about eBay and did a search on, his name and that course, and it was there. A couple of auctions were there, and I bid it on one, lost. And back then, sellers could reach out to you by email after an auction. And
Mhm.
so the seller reached out to me, and he was like, "Hey, you still want a copy of this?" You're like, "Yeah." So we went back and forth on pricing, and we sell it on $400. And so even though that still was a sacrifice, some didn't get paid, I'm sure. I purchased that course. So in that course package, it had wholesaling, it had lease options, it had subject to, if you wanted to get in the rental game, fix and flip, a couple
Mhm.
more things, right? And so I went from knowing zero about real estate until about a 3-week time frame because I felt I had to go through all of it, even though I haven't used all of it, on a consistent basis.
Mhm.
I just felt I had to go through all of it. So it took me that long. But the things that stuck out to me were number one, wholesaling. Number two, lease options, and number three, bandit signs. The reason bandit signs stuck out to me is because I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert by nature. Might not seem like it, but I am.
Yeah. Don't seem like it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that means if I put the message out there, someone will call me, right? So we're halfway there. If it says we buy houses, phone number, whatever, we're
Mhm.
halfway there. They want to sell, I want to buy. Now we just have to get to the numbers to make them work for both of us. All
Mhm.
right. So, but and I often think back, if I ever had to start this by cold calling, I probably would have never done a deal, just knowing me as a person, because I
Mhm.
would have got discouraged on it. So that's why I understand the frustration of people. But what I don't know, what I didn't know then that I do know now is if you're not good at something or whatever you're weak in, you either partner with someone or hire someone that is
Mhm.
strong in that area. But I wasn't that smart back then, so or at least I'm not aware of that just simple thing. But so anyway, so I ordered some bandit signs. I ordered them from a sign shop. Overpaid for them. I didn't know at the time. Like I said, I had never done anything like that before. So I paid $250 for 50 signs. I picked them up on a Friday and put them out on a Sunday. All right, all of them. Put all of them out on a Sunday. The next day, my very first two calls were deals. One of them was
Wow.
a lease option opportunity, and the other one was a wholesale opportunity. Now, the lease option opportunity actually blew up in my face. Okay, and so what happened? Since I'm telling, I just go through the rest of that. Is that okay? Common situation. Parent died, left a property to her son, but the house still had a mortgage on it. He already had his own house that had a mortgage, so he was going to have to be making two payments. So he reached out to me, what was owed on the property, and I was still shaky on ARVs and all that stuff. I just knew he owed more than what I could probably wholesale it for. And so I explained to him how a lease option works. And so he understood that, hey, I'm going to be making payments to cover the mortgage. I'm going to put someone in the property at a higher price so I can create some cash flow. I am going to get a down payment from them that's also going to go into my pocket. Within the next 2 to 3 years, hopefully we can get that person financed and cash you out of the deal, meaning we paid a loan off, and I don't think we even did anything above that. And you'll be free of the debt, and she gets on total ownership of the property. He
Mhm.
understood that, at least he said he did. Okay, so I
Mhm.
advertised the property in the newspaper. That when newspapers were still relevant. This lady called me. She was a nurse. She had money, but didn't have the credit to get a mortgage. And so we met at an old Charlie's here in Birmingham. Not There's no longer there. I think a Mexican restaurant is in that location. And I wanted 5,000 down as a down payment. She gave me 50 $100 bills. That was the most money I had ever seen, in cash or whatever. So,
Mhm.
um, and so I was like, wow, I literally could have stopped then. Like, just stopped then. This is a total success. Ron is great. I literally could have stopped then. But anyway, so in the conversations with the seller, the owner, He mentioned that he was a handyman. He does, work. He was on disability, so he didn't have a job, but he did, handyman work on the side to create some influence because people could pay him in cash. And so, the house was livable, but it needed a few things, that she wanted, because she did go see the house. I skipped that part of it. She viewed the house and wanted it, and we exchanged did the contract and the down payment. But so anyway, so I mentioned that he could do the work, and I thought I was going to create a win-win between those two. Also, he wanted to refinance his house to lower his payment. So a guy I worked at Bell South at the time, which is now AT&T bought him a few years ago. He did mortgages on the side. So I created a win-win there between the seller and the guy that I worked with. And so in conversation, I was telling my friend I had found somebody. She gave me $5,000. He let the seller know that also, but he wasn't trying to blow my deal up or anything. He was just conversating. And so, but that's not how he took it. The guy was struggling financially, meaning the seller, and he got upset because he felt he should have received at least half of that 5,000, if not all of it. So when he was supposed to meet the lady over there to talk about the repairs that he was going to do for her, he came over there in a rage and was like, "Hey, get off my property. Tyrone does not own this property. I'm calling the police." So of course, what did she think? She thought she was about to be scammed, right? Well, it had been scammed, not about to be scammed, had been scammed. So she called me crying or whatever. And so I said, "Hey, where are you right now? I'll bring you your money." And so I had already spent about $700 of it. So I had to come up with that, whatever. So I went back and gave her her money. And so I called him, and he and I got into a heated argument. And I didn't know at the time, not that it matters, but my friend had let me know he was a minister, a pastor of a church. And so, he and I were just cursing each other. And so I just threw a low blow at him. I was like, "Well, I heard you were a minister. I feel sorry for whoever you're leading, the flock that you're leading." And so the last thing he said to me, he said, "If I ever see you again, it won't be pretty." And so we hung up. So that deal blew up in my face. Yeah. All right. So luckily, I had the second deal. It was two sisters. I'll just make this one short. It was two sisters, like a lot of situations, similar to what he had going on. Was mom's house. She died. They thought it was a good idea. We're not going to sell mom's house. We're going to rent it out. After doing that for about 5 years with family members, non-family members, not getting paid, people tearing up the house, they're having to fix it over, doing that 2 or 3 times. They were what? Tired landlords, right? And so they called me, gave me a price of $20,000. I thought it was a good deal, advertised that in the newspaper at $25,000. A broker called me, or an agent called me, said he had a client that would buy that house. And I explained to him, I didn't own it. I had it on the contract. And then the agent did me like this. He said, "Well, in order for my client to buy this, you're going to have to give me half of that assignment fee." So instead of me making $5,000, I made $2,500 on that deal. We basically closed it in about 10 days. So the second deal closed. The first one blew up in my face. So that's how I got started. That was I put out my first set of bandit signs, and I let me just give a timeline real quick. I bought the course in January of 2003. Put out my first set of bandit signs. The first week of February, closed the first deal the first week of March. So basically 30 days from the point I actually did something. Now, that's not going to be everybody's story to close a deal that fast. I can almost guarantee that's not going to be the majorities of individuals, but we'll get to why it's worth it beyond that.
Right. Yeah, but it can't happen. Yeah. One, you've got some great stories, man, to begin with.
I told you it was going to be long, but
anyway. Yeah, no. I think, it's really interesting. There's a couple of things you said there. I mean, one, and you do such a good job of educating people on this now through like YouTube and through everything else you're putting out of just how to get started today and how to go do that first deal. If you were, reflecting on like, how that one deal blew up on you and, even the other one, got cut in half, like what were the main lessons you took away from that if you were going to start today, how you would change your approach? Like, how would you, if you're trying to do that first deal right now, watching this,
Well, on the one that blew up in my face, that's really a blessing. He was going to be a problem. Mm-hmm. At some point he was going to be a problem. So that was just a blessing. I don't even know what else I could have did to vet him, just thinking back, because it's been a minute. But that really was a blessing. The only thing I'm glad that what didn't happen is I didn't have that second deal in place to that second deal in place to, just go right into something, because that could have been like, me having an attitude, oh, this stuff doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? But knowing me, I would have been like, it works. I was just dealing with a fool. You know what I'm saying? Because she gave me the money or whatever. I found a tenant for it, so it worked. It's just he wasn't someone that was thinking reasonably because of whatever he had going in his life financially. All right, now the second deal, my mistakes were because I didn't know is I gave out too much information to the agent, right? Because his client wanted the house because he bought it for 25. Basically, all in he was 25. I guess what the paying his agent, he may have been in all in with closing costs, maybe about 28, right? And so he rehabbed it. Even if he spent, because the house wasn't in bad condition, it was probably 1,200 square feet. So he probably was all in maybe about 45, and he ended up selling it for 69. Because I followed the deal, just to see, how that part of it worked. But so my biggest mistake with that, I gave the agent too much, but I didn't know any better. Like, just whatever question he asked me, I gave it to him. Because the only thing he needed to know is what that price of 25. He didn't need to know how much I had in the contract with the seller for. Right. So
Yeah.
that's the biggest lesson out of that.
Yeah. Interesting. Do you think, I mean, with where you're at now in your career, and I know you're still active on the real estate side and you've got quite a few things going on, but is there anything with how you see the market evolving today and how you are going to treat 2023? Is there anything you're changing about your strategy or how you're teaching people how to get into this and really how to think about, that the state of real estate right now?
Well, the biggest thing with me, man, is that now I've had the experience of going. So I started in 2003. So I've had the experience to go through that late 2007, 2008 time frame. So I can see the change. But before, the that was self-inflicted, meaning that the real estate industry created that.
Right.
With adjustable rate mortgages, and a lot of people getting loans that shouldn't have been getting loans, especially those ARMs, adjustable rate mortgages, meaning they get it at one price point as far as interest rate. 3 years later, their payment may double or at least increase 50%. For a lot of people, that's a deal breaker or whatever. So it was self-inflicted, and it just happened quickly. Like one day I had these buyers, and the next day they didn't exist anymore. Whereas with this, and I don't even know if we're in a bad place. I don't think we're in a bad place because it's been a gradual thing or whatever. So, and even with that, as long as, I'll answer your question, but just as long as real estate is not free, there's going to be endless opportunities,
Right.
because of the amount of, because life, to me, is just this simple. Life creates motivated sellers, right? Meaning people are going to still die, whether recession or not. People are still going to lose their jobs, maybe more, recession or not. And that's not even the type of recession we're in, because it's hard for people to hire people. So we know it's not that or whatever. But people are still going to get divorced. People are still going to lose their job or income. People are still going to relocate, still going to have medical bills. So for us as we're just, because we're talking about wholesaling and DealMachine, I'm pretty sure a good majority of your customers are wholesalers.
Mm-hmm.
We still have to let people know we exist. Property owners, I mean, and the numbers are just going to take over. Now, when the rates were so low, and people seeing this on the TV, so they knew they could get more for their houses. Now, so you're going to have those type of situations, but at the end of the day, you're still going to have that person that's motivated. I don't care what the news is saying. I need this money in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So that's what we're really focusing on in most cases. But also, you want to be open to just more than one solution whenever you're talking to someone. As far as, if you're talking about wholesaling, it needs to be at this price point. But a lot of times, you still may have an opportunity to at least offer them owner financing or offer terms, because you can still wholesale that property if you don't want to keep it, if you set up attractive terms for someone to get into that deal easy, whether it's someone that actually wants to live in it, or if it's an investor that wants to take it on where he can put a tenant in it or whatever he wants to do with it. So
Absolutely.
the opportunity, you just have to, what I didn't know back then that I know now, I should have been targeting more owner finance situations versus still looking for the deeply discounted property.
Yep, fair. Yeah, and I mean you're absolutely right there too. Of like, hey, no matter what the market's doing, there's always problems to solve. There's always people that are going to have situations where they need to move now or they need to get rid of a property now, and that's your job as a wholesaler is to help come in and solve that problem for them, and use speed and convenience and cash to do that. So. Yeah, I think that's a great way to think about it and to know like, hey, is there a good time to get into this? Well, and I think anytime there's opportunity, just how you approach it. And you are right too. We've got, I'd say, majority wholesaler, but definitely a good mix of wholesale, fix and flip, buy and hold that are using DealMachine to find deals. But do you know in terms of your marketing strategy? I loved you talking about that. You saying like, hey, I might not seem like it, but I'm an introvert by nature. We definitely have people like that where they don't necessarily want to do all the cold calls and want to do the dialing, for dollars like that and everything. Like, can you maybe give a marketing plan for people who are more introverted? Like, hey, here's what they should be doing if they're, especially say they're out like driving for dollars, they're building a list of leads. Okay, now what? What's the best way to get in touch with people from there?
Well, I'm a dinosaur, but I'm not that dinosaurish, if that's a word. The internet did exist when I started, so
Yeah,
you guys have tools that didn't exist when I started, right?
fair.
And so you have social media, you have DealMachine, um, um, just the internet in general takes eliminates people like me that struggle with conversating, because now one of probably the easiest techniques anyone can do and doesn't cost them anything is just leveraging Facebook and Facebook groups to build a buyers list, and then feeding those buyers with other wholesalers deals. Let them do the hard work. You just need to go create that buyers list for whatever market you're targeting. And because a lot of wholesalers can find the deal, but they can't put the other piece together,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so if you establish the other piece, which is a cash buyers list, you don't need many, 5 to 10. 10 would be ideal, and obviously add more as you need to. That's a strategy that anyone can implement, even if you're not even in that market, right? That's where the virtual wholesaling gets into. So, and that's simply going to Facebook, joining groups, looking at the posting of listings as far as properties trying to be sold, and just going through the comments. It's easy to identify who are buyers and who are not in most cases. Now, sometimes you won't know, but it'll soon reveal itself. And once you do that and establish those relationships, you may never actually even talk to them. It may be all through Messenger, Facebook Messenger, text message, or email or whatever. And then the same thing. So now you've done that. You've established those relationships. Again, the other wholesalers have done the hard work by finding the deal. Because normally that's the hardest part, is the deal. Getting someone to sell their real estate at a discount is hard, right? And so the easy part of the transaction, in my opinion, is the buyer, because they're looking for deals, right? And they're open to talk to you about it, especially if you have a deal. Now, it's a little bit more difficult when you don't have a deal, because you never know when you reach out to someone what's going on with them that particular day or at that particular time. They may just be leaving a project, and then when they purchased the house, they didn't think it had foundation issues. Now they figured out, once they went into some walls, it has foundation issues. Now a budget of 50,000 goes up to 75,000. So he may not be in the greatest of moods when you reach out to him and say, "Hey, would you like to buy some more houses in that area?" And they might not be in the greatest of moods. So keep that in mind or whatever. But anyway, there's enough people out there still looking, regardless. So.
For sure. So is that where, and I know you share people, tips on how to build their cash buyers list right away too. Is that where you start, is Facebook comments like that within local groups that transactions are happening in? Or
Yeah, now and I can't take credit for that, even though I knew it. But really, we haven't been doing it, but until recently, in my
Mhm.
office, one of my students in one of the groups I have, as far as the paid students, she started doing that, and achieved some fairly quick success, and so she's
Great
like
tip.
part of my training now, you know what I'm saying, to help
Yeah.
people do it or whatever. So because for me, like I say, I'm not a networker and stuff, but that's me being ignorant. You know what I'm saying? So just seeing her do it, it's just so simple to do. I ain't saying it's gonna be easy, but it's so simple to do. And if anybody's watching this, we know they have what? The internet. All right. So you have the opportunity. When someone tells me, "Oh, I don't have a Facebook account," huh? And you're in business? I don't have an Instagram account, huh? You're in business? You do know you don't have to put anything personal on the internet when you're dealing with social media. It can be all business. Go look
Right.
at my account and tell me anything about me personal outside of what I may occasionally share. It's all business, like all business for me. I probably if I was just still working at Bell South or AT&T, I probably wouldn't even be on social media. Just knowing me as a person and how I am, but you would think that this is, but it's all business for me. Not saying that that's the only way to do it, but I'm saying if you're going to be in business, you're kidding yourself if you don't have a social media presence. Period.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
we don't do enough. What I have going on, we don't do enough.
Yeah, that's what I know. Even David, our CEO and founder, he's ramped up his personal social a little bit more recently too. Just building his own real estate business as well. He's got a portfolio, and he's had multiple deals come from just posting about what he's working on. So as simple as if you're going on an appointment or you're out driving for dollars or anything, like just start talking about the activity you're doing, and opportunities will naturally present themselves.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yes,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Do you think? I mean, I know you talked about you had one of your students who came up with that tactic. Do you, for students that you're working with there, what are some of the common mistakes that you see that would be kind of a little bit of a crash course for us here of like, hey, here are a couple things to avoid or to think about, when you're going to do that first deal?
Matt, the number one reason most people never learn, well, it's a couple of them. I'm going to go through them, but starting what I think is number one, why most people never do a deal or struggle to do deals. They never figure out what makes a great deal. That,
Yeah.
the amount of people that just send me stuff just because someone wants to sell it is amazing. And I'm talking about just so far from being a deal. And I try my best. I provide so many free tools and stuff, just advice on that part of it. Like if you just go to my website, dealulator.com, it's a play on the word calculator, DealUlator, Dealulator. Remove the CALC, replace it with the DEAL. I have a free calculator there. You should never put a property on a contract without running those numbers. Now, there's more to it than that, but you have to have your ARV. You have to have an idea of repairs. I have a repair calculator, very simple, not set in stone, but it gives you a generalization of what the repairs may be. Once you plug those numbers in, the blue number, the way it sits now, it needs to be that number or below. Now you have to plug in your fee, what you want, and an easy way to figure out how much you want to make on a deal, and it'll still fluctuate, but just generally between 7 to 10% of the ARV. Now, sometimes you can make a lot more than that. Sometimes you make a lot less, but generally speaking, and I couldn't have explained that a year ago. I just knew. Somebody give me a deal. I say, well, you probably can make 15 on this, or you can make, but I couldn't explain it mathematically, and what I'm saying, in numbers. So I woke up just one night in the middle of the night, and I don't know what happened. It just came to me. So you're probably doing about 10%. Then I realized you're probably doing about 7 to 10%, a range of what the ARV is and what you think you can pull off as far as the other numbers, with the ARV, the 70%, if you use that, the repairs, you're probably coming around about 7 to 10% of what you could possibly make on a particular deal or whatever. So, but so that's probably number one, is people don't figure out what a great deal is.
Yeah.
But probably even before that, though, in reality, and I don't know if they realize this. I don't know what anybody else is doing out there. I get bits and pieces, but I know on my YouTube channel, it's over 1,000 videos there, including the YouTube Shorts. But even without the YouTube Shorts, it's still probably over 900. Right? That's 14 years of me spilling my guts. If you want to wholesale houses, Everything you need to know is right there on that channel for free. So the number one reason why most people don't ever do a deal, they won't take the time out to simply educate themselves. I have a saying that I put on a lot of my posts. There's no excuse when the knowledge and training is free. So that's probably number one. They don't have the patience to educate themselves. They'll see one of my posts or Max Maxwell or Jamil or who else out there, Jared Norton, some of these other people. They'll see one of our posts. It sounds, oh man, this is amazing. Wow. Yeah, but that's it. But you still need to go through the process of creating a foundation to educate yourself. Well, let me just say this. If you want to succeed at something, you know how you increase your chances of doing that? By simply knowing what to do. That goes a long way.
Absolutely.
that goes a long way.
Yeah, love it, man. And I know that's what we really actively try to educate our audience in that way as well. And we've got close to about 1,000 videos as well on our channel, as on our side. And I mean, some of them are demos, but a lot of it's like, hey, we want to bring on experts like yourself to help people, invest in themselves and educate themselves and get to the point where they are confident in taking that action. So, yeah, love to have you on. This has been awesome, man. I don't want to keep you all day. I know the Deal You Later link, we will make sure to include that as well. Is your YouTube channel the best place for people to connect with you, or how can people get involved with you?
Yeah, that's where I really want people to go, even though I have TikToks and, the Instagram and all that stuff, but YouTube is where the real meat is at, where you can really learn how to do this. That's where it's really at. Now, like on my shirt right here, you see the phone number. I guess it's backwards on my screen, but I think it'll be forward when it comes out. But if you just text VIP to that number, I have a playlist of the video. I just say you got to watch all 1,000 of them by no means. I put a playlist together that will actually streamline or speed up your learning process. If you just text VIP to that number, 205-964-5243.
Awesome. We'll try to include that below as well. And then I know we have like a scaling your real estate business ebook. We'll link here too. But Ty, this has been fantastic, man. Really appreciate your time. Like I said, big fan of your content you've been doing for 15 years now. So appreciate you sharing so much with the world here.
All right, no problem at all, man. I really appreciate we connected, man, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. And to everyone watching, this is Matt Camp over here with Deal Machine, and happy deal finding.